Loud and live on Facebook. So there, now we are all beautifully being recorded. Host, where do you want to post live video? Not on my timeline, no. In a group. Yes, good to know. Get it in the right place. Yes, there. There, now. We are so like, darn, I already pushed the record. Well, hello. Hope we can edit that out before we post it to YouTube. Hi, this is Tchipakkan, and this is the Changing Times, Changing Worlds Wednesday show. As we are gearing up for our November conference, which should be great, but we do, of course, need to learn the technology, which is a curve for me. Oh dear, I wonder, is there something else I'm supposed to push for the Facebook one? Maybe that green button? I do not know. Oh, go live. There we go. Add a title. Go live anyway. There we go. Anyway, so apologies for that, and I'm suddenly glad we haven't got a huge crowd. This week I noticed several times when I started to trance out doing things, and I said, hey, we can do that. This is something that if you look at people talking about it, people do it during a lot of types of behaviors. And I remember 20-something years ago, when I finally learned to meditate, I was going in for a hernia operation, and I had decided that I had read a book that said you can heal faster, you can be operated on with less anesthesia if you go into a trance. And I buckled down and I started spending half an hour a day doing it. And I finally, after 25 years of trying, learned how to meditate. Not the easiest things in the world, especially with somebody with a busy mind like mine. So, and I did it. I apparently freaked out the anesthesiologist and the people who were, especially in the recovery room. I got to listen to the not particularly respectful discussions between the operating room staff, because I was not anesthetized. I said, go ahead, put the line in, but I'll give you a little wave if I have any pain, because I knew they were going to give me some local. So I was not out. So when you got to recovery, they were like, and do you need to go to the bathroom? Oh, yes, I do, because I wasn't full of drugs. And everybody else was kind of leaning back and drooling. And I was like, yes, I'd like to get up. Can I go to the bathroom, please? Thank you. We could bring you a bedpan. No, please let me go to the bathroom. I'm cool. Did you know that I didn't have an anesthesia? Okay. Anyway, the whole point was that you could then heal faster. And I healed pretty well and presumably faster. And then learn. So I learned how to do that, but it's not in my idiom. As a Westerner, I am not able, I haven't been able since I was 12 to get into a full lotus position. Yes, I can sit with my feet crossed under me, but Actually, I'm not sure I can do that anymore at 68. But the important part of meditation is not to put your body in a certain position. The point is to calm your mind. And if you calm your mind, you can kick in, get into contact with that mind-body link and heal faster. You can heal better. It improves your memory. It reduces anxiety. It reduces depression. It reduces stress. It's good for enhancing your self-awareness. It helps you sleep. And of course, this is not something that they put a lot of money into government studies on, but it helps you, it enhances your psychic abilities. That's probably why anybody who's watching this wants to know about it. But the trick is you don't necessarily, everybody doesn't trance out the same way. And I may be being inexact when I use trance out and meditate somewhat interchangeably. I am sure there are people who can be more precise than I am, and I'm quite willing, if anybody wants to call in and share their experiences, do that. But I do know that there are many other ways of getting into a meditative state. One of the best ways that I have done, not on purpose, but I have heard many people talk about doing, is gardening. And if you garden, a lot of people find that they will trance out while doing anything that's repetitive. You're not going to be meditating if you're doing anything that requires a great deal of cognitive focus. The whole point behind meditation is to just be, to sit there and, or whatever position you're in, let your mind rest. People do that while gardening during any repetitive part, if you're hoeing or you're pulling weeds or something that really doesn't require much more than a binary. I do not know how to shut that up. If it's kind of binary, yes, no, this is a weed, this isn't a weed. Then you can zone out. Another thing people do, and this one is quite popular these days, is walk a labyrinth. And you can walk a labyrinth and just putting one foot in front of the other. One of the things about walking a labyrinth is you can go on a fairly long walk. I mean, it's not like you're on a golf course, but you can take a fairly long walk without actually ever having to worry about wandering off the property because your mind isn't in it. You can just be watching the two edges of the labyrinth as it takes you through the path, and you can zone out. Excuse me. Somebody's trying to find me, and wants to come in and cannot find where we are on Facebook Live. Okay, and we are. So if you're walking a labyrinth, this is a traditional thing that people will do to get in there. but there are other bliss. You hear about people who exercise, these people who, I have a niece who refers to the easy six, the 6 miles she runs every day when she's not in training. That's the easy six. And some people who are a lot more physically fit than I am can run, and they get into what they call the zone, and then they're just there and they're experiencing a sense of bliss. Now, bliss is intimately associated with meditation. People who do meditation describe feeling blissful. Not only do you feel good afterwards, but you feel good during. I have a personal theory on meditation based on interview I saw with Doug Henning once. He was on a talk show. And as with many stage musicians, magicians, he was very interested in real magic, and he had gone to Tibet to learn some of the advanced techniques. And he was meditating in an ashram somewhere, and he kept hearing this strange noise every so often from all around the room. And finally, he decided he was going to open his eyes and see what this noise was, because it was hard for him to maintain his lack of concentration when he was having this stimulus, this very irregular stimulus that was like a sound that he was not recognizing. And what he looked at and he saw was that all around the room, the people who were meditating a 1.5 or 2 feet off the ground. And then every so often they would look up and fall to the ground, where then they would start meditating again. And he looked down, and yes, he was floating off the ground and thumped down. As soon as he saw it, down he went. And this has led me to believe that when you are in a state of bliss, you are lighter. The energy that we call gravity doesn't work on you as much. Now, why? Your mass hasn't changed, gravity hasn't changed, physics hasn't changed, but somehow when you're blissful, you may end up floating. And I, as a codicil to that rather strange theory, I have noticed that I can diet and lose a great deal of mass, and the scale will still register that I am heavier. And I think it's because when you're dieting, you can be really depressed. And if you're depressed, it's going to be to the reverse of being blissful. So ignore the scale, eat what's healthy for you, meditate, and just try and be blissful. It's the opposite of gravity is levity. I am not entirely certain that if you laugh, like in Mary Poppins when her uncle laughed and they all floated up to the ceiling, or there's a movie called Eat, Pray, Love, I think it was, and Julia Roberts tries to learn she can't meditate. So they give her the assignment, we want you to sit here and smile at everybody so that they feel loved and appreciated. So you may not be able to get your mind to do something, but you can smile for 8 hours straight. And so she smiled, and that was her form of meditation. I think we all have to find our personal form of meditation. Yours may be running. Yours may be working in the garden. Yours may be walking a labyrinth. One of my daughters developed a technique for herself. Catherine, could you come and show what you do? She's in the next room. Kat?
Yes.
Could you come and show? Now, she's not going to be going into a trance here because she does this in the dark. But let me get out of the way so you can see what she does. So you want to... And about how long do you do that for?
Judging by the musical playlist that I listen to while I'm meditating, it can be anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour.
15 minutes, doing that for 15 minutes to an hour. But that trances her out. Thank you, sweetheart. You can stop now, but you look really cool.
Also, I don't get dizzy.
Yeah, go fig. I wouldn't be able to do that for more than a minute without falling down, but she does it. And other things that you can do if you one of the things that's a traditional technique for if not meditation, but going into a trance, is spinning. Back in the days when clothing was made with thread that was woven together, but every yard of thread had to be taken from sheep or whatever, or linen, and turned into thread, spun. So women spun for hours a day. And when you've got this rhythmic motion of turning the wheel, or when they came up with the foot pedal and pedaling it, and the wheel is spinning, and all you're doing is you got a motion like this, and you're just pulling the thread out of. Got a big bundle of. Oh, I should have brought some thread, showing you how spinning works. But you take a fluff and you pull it, and it turns into a thread, and the wheel spins it. And doing that for hours on time, traditionally women did go into trances a lot. And gee, what a surprise, people being psychic, they learned that they could direct intent into the thread. And women were known to put protection into the clothes that they created, and they would spin the cloth, and then they would weave it, and that would be, +2 armor or whatever, as opposed to just being a shirt. As a matter of fact, in the early Anglo-Saxon period and the Germanic period, when the priests found out that this was typically something women did while they were spinning, they would often chant protection charms while they spun to enhance the durability and the quality of their spinning and the clothing that they were making from it. The priests briefly tried to say there will be no more spinning. You can't spin. It's like, yeah, well, people are going to get pretty threadbare if there is no spinning. So they had to take it back, and they what they finally said was, okay, you can sing Christian, you can chant the Psalms, you can sing Christian hymns, but there will be none of these old traditions. Okay, there was some computer thing, and I seem to have gone away for a second. I think, talking about how you can do things doing everyday things. And I want you to think, for instance, of when you're in the shower. If you're taking a nice hot shower, if you're taking a lovely soaky bath, do you get um, uh, some of your best ideas, perhaps, while in the shower and looking at the and thinking, because if your mind is, if you're just going your mind can give you some of your greatest ideas. Dreams do too. It's not unlike dreams, but of course dreams tend to go away in the morning when you wake up. If you are doing meditation and you're hoping that during the meditation inspiration will come from you, frequently you have to give yourself the suggestion that you will remember any brilliant thing that comes to you. Otherwise, when you come out of it and you don't, it'll go away. Many times in a lot of the trances, if I do guided meditations at a conference or in a festival, and there's a guided meditation, I almost always come up with transamnesia. I cannot remember what happened. Everybody comes back with these wonderful stories, what they did. Not me, I don't remember any of it. A friend of mine, James Sibley, who often speaks at Changing Times, Changing Worlds, was taught something called utasita, which I may be mispronouncing, which basically means out-sitting, by her grandmother. It's going into a trance and you go out into this other place, and then the people who are with you can ask you questions, and then you can answer them from whatever mystical place you have where you have more information than you have when you're conscious. But when she comes back and they say, by the way, I said this and you said that, and what did you mean? And she said, well, I don't know. I don't remember. That I was there then and I am not there now. And she does not remember. This is not at all unusual. So not unlike hypnosis or self-hypnosis, if you are trying to work through an issue, if you are trying to change your life, if you are trying to reduce your blood pressure, reduce your weight, heal, give yourself the suggestion going in, because when you're there, you probably are not going to have that option, to take this with you when you come out. Now, frankly, most meditation is simply do it every day, because if you do it every day, you get good at it. You're not doing it for a specific goal. You're doing it because this is a ability that you are practicing. It's an exercise that you are doing to get better at. But don't think because you cannot sit in a lotus position that you are not chanting Om Namani Padme Hum or Nam Myoho Renge Kyo or whatever. You could be chanting the 23rd Psalm if that's what's important to you. You could be singing gospel or anything that's good to you, that's so ingrained into you that you don't need to think about it. And that can be your chance. Don't try, and we don't have to take on the clothing and the behaviors of another culture to learn this thing just because the other culture does it well. Meditation is something that humans do. In Western ceremonial magic, I am given to understand that rather than sitting with their feet crossed, they tend to sit in chairs. I'm not sure why, but they'll put their hands on the arms of the chair and just sit upright and don't let your legs cross, don't let your hands touch each other. And they call it the pharaonic position in some of the books I have read. I dare say there are a dozen different techniques by different Western ceremonial practitioners.
The modern approach to that is Find a position that's comfortable because you don't want your body distracting you.
Comfortable and yet not enough so that you'll go to sleep.
Correct.
This is one of the things, pretty universal. Don't try to do it lying down. If you do it lying down, you are probably going to go to sleep, which is not a bad thing if you want to go to sleep. But if you're wanting to meditate, if you're wanting to enter that zone for 20 minutes a day, they say that if you're stressed, you should find 15 or 20 minutes a day to meditate, unless you're very stressed, in which case you should find an hour. Make an hour. It apparently helps. Do I do it? Not as often as I should. I am not that good at it, but I am firmly convinced that each of us has to do it our own way. Scientists who like to do things like this and apparently know how to get grants have studied people who doing, you may or may not know, there's a current fad to color, and that's don't bother me on coloring, and people will take their pens or their pencils and adult coloring books, many of which are really quite intricate, and color for a couple of hours, half an hour to an hour a day. That's their time. And so scientists have put the electrodes on them and found out that they're getting the same readings as they do of people who are meditating. I experienced something fairly similar while working on a very, very large puzzle. If all you're doing is seeing, does this one fit? Does that one fit? Does that one fit? Does that color match that color? You're not thinking, that gives you just enough of something pretty unimportant to focus on, that your mind isn't wandering over the pandemic and your relatives and your bank account and all the other things that intrude. You're able to just focus on, this tab goes, this innie, this outie goes into this innie, and this outie goes into that innie, and no, that doesn't quite fit. You zone out. You can color. You can, I'm trying to think of all the things people do. I think one of the most important things that you have to include in that is turn off the phone. Tell the family. If you have children will, whether they are 5 or 15 or 35, trust me, want to test just what is the level of what constitutes an emergency. This is my alone time. Leave me alone. Do not bother me unless there's blood flowing, or something like that. There was a woman I heard who had fixed up a little office for herself in the attic, what it had been the attic. And she was like, unless there is blood flowing under the door, I do not want to hear from you. And then she heard this huge crash one day and came out and found her child sitting calmly licking a ice cream cone at the top of the stairs, and a somewhat the worse for wear chair at the bottom of the stairs that they had pushed down, and it was the big crashing sound that she had heard. And they just said, I wanted to see if that would get you out. It's like, children will do that. They need to find definition. They need to know what your limits are. And so tell your children, tell your roommates, tell your husband, put water, get your dog walked and watered, and make sure that it's that he's not going to need you, because dogs don't take logical arguments the way some humans do. But find that alone time. Find that time for yourself, and let your mind do nothing. And doing nothing is really, really hard. So find something that you can focus on that can keep your mind at ease on, thinking about one thing. Now, I know people who study tarot will sometimes put a tarot card up and look at that tarot card for the hour or whatever, and find all sorts of new insights into it. That's because they've given their mind one thing to look at, one thing to get into. And no, we're not going to start thinking about all of the wonderful permutations of what you can do with tarot, but you may find yourself walking down the road behind walking through the veil behind the priestess, or down the road behind the moon, and seeing what's down there, because you've left the consciousness that you are using. Humans have this ability, but you do have to practice it. And depending on what's good for, if you play an instrument, practicing an instrument, unless you're trying to learn some new technique, which is going to take your attention. But if you get into that technique, that may do it. Sometimes people who write will go into the zone when they're writing. Sometimes people who paint or sculpt will go into the zone while they're painting. It usually has to do with something that's repetitive, and you're just losing yourself in the activity. But don't feel that you have to sit there and do something that, because there are lots and lots of ways. I guess that's all I was really wanting to say in the topic, was that there are a great deal of ways of doing it. As I said, my daughter learned that she could trance out if she was spinning in circles for an hour. This is not something that would have ever occurred to me. I suppose it's simply a smaller version of walking a labyrinth. I'm not sure, but you can do that. But I'm reminded of we have the road that goes near our town.
Tchipakkan?
Yeah.
I think we have someone trying to get let in.
Ah, okay. There we go. Admit. Thank you. I was thinking about our town has a road that goes by, and there was apparently labyrinth wars. Somebody had taken the time to lay out and put stones down and create a labyrinth, and put a sign by the road that said, "Come on in and walk our labyrinth." And then about a quarter of a mile up, in the next farm over, they had put in a labyrinth, and the two of them were like, "Hey, you're trying to draw people away from our labyrinth." It's like, remember, the point behind what we're doing is not competitive. It is simply that we are trying to learn a way to quiet our minds. We're trying to get to a point where we're not full of worry. We are not full of pain. We are not full of the craziness. One of my hobbies is one of my hobbies is keeping track of holidays, and tomorrow is Stress Awareness Day. So this is something that is very important for us, especially right now, when there is so much stress around for us to have to deal with in the world. Let's see. I have actually almost finished all of the different suggestions I had for meditating. Essentially, I wanted to say there are lots of ways, so don't restrict yourself. Does anyone have any other ways that they meditate or that they have experienced bliss, or any suggestions that might be useful to other people? Any of our listeners? Oh, well.
Since I just got in, I can't.
Yeah. Sorry.
I contribute.
Yeah. Well, it's Kathy, do you or?
Yeah, let me throw out a different perspective, because you seem to be kind of basing this on assuming that meditation ends with you achieving a state of bliss. And I'm not sure that's the only type of meditation that's worth.
Oh, good Lord, no. I'm trying to say that there's lots of ways. But if you zone out, I think that is a type of meditation.
It is.
Now, so you were going to say, make your point. Don't let me interrupt that.
What I use it for is to basically find a place of stillness, to get rid of some of the extraneous crap that's going on. You know, you're thinking about the guy who cut you off on the way home from work, or how am I really should be out there mowing the lawn, or crap, I have a dentist appointment tomorrow. And all this stuff gets in the way of you being able to do any serious magical work. So you need to get to that place where you have let go of this everyday crap and have a still centered place. And then from there you can go on to actually do something without all this interference.
Do you have a way of doing that?
Practice. Lots and lots of practice. You just sit for a while, and every time one of those stray things comes up, you say to yourself, yep, that's there. Bye. I'm not thinking about you now. Don't beat yourself up over having it. Just, it comes through. You say, yep, it's there. Let it go. Eventually it slows down.
How about anger or hurt? Those are the ones I have trouble with.
That's a little different from the stray, day-to-day stuff. Those you may actually want to kind of focus on processing as an activity once you hit that I'm no longer thinking about the grocery list stage. Then you can start unpacking some of the bigger stuff.
Yeah, but what you were saying about I'm not thinking about that now, you're not saying that it isn't important. You're not saying that it hasn't got a place. You're just saying not now. And I think that makes it easier, at least it does for me, to dismiss them and say, just not now. I'll get to that later. Doesn't mean you're just giving it up.
So you don't have to hold yourself to the higher standard of I will never be upset about this again.
No, everything is a work in progress.
Okay.
If you could do it perfectly, you wouldn't need to be here anymore. You would be off doing some higher thing that we can't really wrap our brains around.
It took me long enough to get here.
Well, I'm going to say that this reminds me of the Reiki precepts, which are, of course, they were in Japanese and they are translated separately. But for today, I will not be angry. For today, I will not worry. For today, I will be humble. For today, I will work honestly. For today, I will be compassionate. And those things, the fact that it was just one day at a time, you're only taking it one day at a time. You're not saying I have to never be angry again. You're just saying, okay, today I'm not going to be angry.
Could I start with an hour? I won't.
For the-
I have very low standards here. I won't
Okay,
be angry
you
or I won't
could
be
start
hurt
that way.
for an hour.
Well, yeah, because if you're thinking of it as a meditation, in meditation, what you're saying is, I'm not dealing with those stresses for this half hour or for this hour.
Okay.
You're saying, yes, it exists. No, I am not ignoring it. No, I am going to deal with it. I will deal with these very real problems, but not during this time. During this block of time. This is my time to walk the labyrinth. This is my time to color. This is my time to take a long shower if you have a good water heater. This is my time to, whichever of these techniques seem to click for you. And the thing is, I think each people should think back to, when have you been really happy, really calm, and
1975.
Oh, good year.
I'm joking.
It's a good joke. I saw a meme go by on Facebook that had Marty McFly and Doc Brown, and Doc Brown is saying, Marty, never ever go to 2020.
Oh,
Yep.
Oh boy,
Yeah.
True words were never spoken.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, and I think that to a certain extent, I think that if you could, I'm not sure how you could, if you could laugh, I think that levity is the opposite of gravity. And there is a movement in, can't remember the name of it, but in India, where the whole village, which, is what, 100, 200 people, gets together on the square and they laugh for 5 to 10 minutes. And usually what happens is they get together, then one of them starts laughing, and when you're in a room with a bunch of people, fantastic.
Well, unfortunately, we're all alone now. We're all separate, so I find that a harder concept.
It is, and I'm not sure it would work the same if everybody had masks on, but maybe if they were properly socially distanced. But it seems to me that you'd get some deep breathing in there, like you don't want to do during the pandemic. So,
okay.
But over the internet, if you could get together and laugh, we could get a Zoom meeting and we would all try and laugh. Think of something funny, and if you get enough people laughing, it's contagious. Almost like yawning. If you do it, and I'm not going to yawn because I know I'd get you all yawning, and that's not good. But laughter can be a form of meditation. That's what I'm saying. Is that the thing that will relax you, that will lower your blood pressure, that will release the pain-killing hormones in your body. These are the things, you find the one that works for you, and don't worry, don't waste one iota of stress over whether or not it's what that highly enlightened person that teaches down at your local adult learning center tells you to do. That it might work great for them. Your friend may find it easy to run 6 miles a day and get in the zone for that. But hey, that's not me. That's not my way of meditating. I did practice for months, sitting in a darkened living room on the couch, breathing slowly and trying not to think about anything.
It's hard not to think of anything.
It's really hard not to think about anything. But I got there and was able to go through an operation with only local anesthesia, which completely confuse the medical staff. But the idea is not to confuse the medical staff, as much fun as that is, but to heal fast. But to heal you fast.
That one. I'll take the medicine, thank you.
But the whole idea is to heal fast.
But I used to have a happy place. And so I would think about, it was the view from the dock. And if I pictured that, then, as you said, pain, didn't hurt as much. Nothing hurt as much. And it used to work, but I lost it.
Well, we need to find another one. But see, what you have to do there is go to the dock in 1975. There you go. You said that's your happy place. 75. Okay, go to 1975 in your head. But I mean, if that's where it's going to be for you. But that is essentially the point I was making tonight, which is that that everybody has to do it their own way. I am going to make one more request. If anybody has any thoughts to share or questions, since you got here a little bit late.
I did get late. I'm sorry.
Technology. We're not all. We are. Technology is somewhat hard.
I hit every button on my phone. Every single one.
And so we have.
And now I need to meditate because it stressed me out.
Sorry about that. That happens. I'm afraid that we're still on a learning curve on the technology. So, Kat, did you have any questions? I know you got here late too. Or are you just being a friendly drop-in?
Yep.
So, yeah, well, I want to invite everybody to do two things. One is to tell your friends about the show and the conference, because we're going to try and do shows that would be light classes for the conference. And we're going to try and have, I lined up Dana Corby, who is the author of the Witches' Runes book, and another book, Royal Roads, we're looking at either the last Wednesday in July or the first Wednesday in August. Trying to look for fun topics. I would like, the other thing, other than telling your friends, I'm hoping everybody will make suggestions. If you have a speaker you would like to hear come on, if you have a topic you would like to discuss, I had asked Dana, because she had mentioned, she had seen on Facebook that somebody had decided to hex their local fae. And we're all like, oh, duck. Goodness gracious, don't be. You're going to hex the local fae. I would love to get Morgan Daimler on talking about that, but just don't miss who, when they decide they're going to show these people. Don't miss. But if you have topics that you would like covered, please suggest them. Go to Facebook and put them on suggestions, and I will try and track down people to talk about those things.
Great. How about how to log on?
Okay, I'll try and put something better on how to get on.
No. It was my
we do have
my problem. Once I hit the right button, I was fine.
Okay. Okay. But I will tell you, speaking as somebody who likes, I get excited. I like to learn things, and then I want to tell everybody else all the cool things I learned. But speakers are really a lot more eager to speak when they know that what they're talking about is something the audience really wants. So if you have put in a request and we say, hey, somebody wants to know more about mediums, somebody wants to know more about healing, somebody wants to know more about not pissing off your local fae, hey, you don't want to be doing that. Then we can, we would be happy to have suggestions. But I will end a little bit early if there are no questions or comments. And I guess that's it. So I will.
I got here late, so I can't contribute.
Well, I hope you'll be able to go to Facebook Live and click on it and see the beginning. But
I can do that. That'll take me another 2 hours.
Oh, go color. go to 1975 and off the dock. But no, what you have in your mind is just as valid as what you experience. The difference is if you do it in what we call our shared reality, then other people can remember it with you. So
should I tell the other people that we're sisters?
I think people can tell.
That's why I'm being a little fresh with you.
Okay. Anyway, so thank you all for coming. Do tell your friends. I like to think that I'm a little more organized than this, but I am. The tech is still a learning curve for me. So thank you for.
Oh.
Okay.
I think I had more trouble than anybody else tonight.
Maybe. So
thank
you again.
Interrupt you guys.
Keep an eye on Changing Times, Changing Worlds. And I really would like suggestions, because I think that it's easier to do it when you know somebody really wants to know. So
I like